One of the most popular series of this fall 2021 anime season is the second season of a show simply called 86, a mecha anime made by the studio animation A1 Pictures, which concepts and ideas are not really that original since various elements of the mecha genre has been exploited to stratospheric levels like fictional countries, teenage pilots, and overpowered mechs that you could throw thousands of rockets at them and not hitting anything. But seriously, it's a breath of fresh air to finally have a good military mecha story instead of your average isekai series that comes out every other season and made me forget that horrible ending we got from Darling in the Franxx. Anyways, what's 86 about? 86 follows the story of Lina, a major in the army of the Republic of San Magnolia who is assigned to be a handler. In other words, a commander of an elite unit of unmanned drones called Juggernauts. With these Juggernauts, she must complete different missions against the Legion, AI drones developed by the now fallen Giadian Empire who declared war with the Republic 9 years before the start of the series. For the public eye, this conflict has no human casualties. For their understanding, this is a war based on drones beating the shit out of each other. Little they know, the Republic is using secretly people to pilot these supposed unmanned drones called processors. These processors are people known as the 86, citizens of the Republic who were sent to the 86th sector, which is located outside the walls of the country. The thing about the 86 is that these are people who were stripped of their humanity and forced to pilot the Juggernauts in different societal missions, as they are considered nothing more than cannon fodder and an inferior race from the eyes of everyone in the country. Yes, I know, this is a plot-heavy story, but it's not as plot-heavy as Dune, alright? So, hear me out. 86 is a character-driven story, which I personally tend to like more than a plot-driven story, because you get more in-depth into the character's psyche and their motivations and thus feel more human and more relatable. Even though this is a mecha anime, the action sequences do not happen as much compared to the development of the characters' interpersonal relationships. We get introduced to the leader of the Spearhead Squadron named Shin, as well as all the other members. We see them bonding together, having meals, having parties, having fun despite the dire situation they're in, knowing very well that they may not return alive from their next mission. But for what reason are these kids doing there in the first place? The Alba, a race of silver-eyed and silver-haired people, committed a systematic ethnic cleansing against anyone who wasn't like them, removing their citizenship, their rights, their homes, and sending them into internment camps in the 86th sector. Oh my god, this sounds so familiar. Racism and prejudice are themes that are explored during the whole series and how it can affect people and societies alike. We see the general public not aware of their atrocities being made and the indifference of the suffering of the 86. It's really appalling how the Republic military are not even willing to provide quality equipment, clean installations, or even personnel. Like, how are you supposed to win a war if you're purposely trying to kill your own army? Which leads me to talk about our main character, Lina, since everything is told from her perspective. She's an idealist, a determined person who holds the utmost respect of the principles of the Republic, but also has a naive vision about the world. She's one of the few people who sees the 86 as fellow human beings and shows concern of her subordinates' well-being to even providing them maps when it's illegal to do so, sending them supplies, or just chatting with them every night on a get-to-know-you conversation through the Pararate, which is practically like a Discord server voice chat. During the series, we see how these people develop a bond of trust that may overcome their cultural differences, especially with the second protagonist, Shin, which we all know they will end up together. However, it is worth mentioning that the show expresses very well that despite all of her good intentions, it will not change the fact that she's sitting safely behind the walls in a computer screen, living in a privileged life, while those on the other side taking orders are dying mercilessly. Helena has a brilliant character development, trying to change the system from within. She tries to tell the truth to a whole class but to no avail. She confronts her uncle and her best friend who sees that trying to help the 86 and change the collective mentality of a society is futile, coming to Lina's realization that if she wants to make any difference, she has to do things in a politically incorrect manner. Looking at the series as a whole, as far as I know, this anime adaptation stays true to its original light novel's narrative on its condemnation of war, racism, and prejudice. The action sequences are phenomenally well animated, blending CGI with 2D animation, which it doesn't happen as often as you think. seeing how bad integrated CGI animation can be in certain anime.
Like 1,000 miles away, I heard someone.
And what I'm about to say is personal opinion, but the spider cockroach mech design, not a fan of it. I think it looks goofy compared to your classic bipedal type mechs, especially when they do, backflips and using like melee weapons with the blade thing. It gives me a hard time to take the fight seriously, but overall the series is brutal, but not in a way that feels over the top to the point of ridiculous. Secondary characters who do not get much of a screen time are given audiovisual elements that give them relevance in the narrative, like using the sound or the absence of it, symbolic metaphors and flashback scenes to make every character's death have a narrative weight instead of gratuitous shock value. The production really cared about the little details to tell the story, such as representing the passing of time through the graffiti and the mannequin aging as the time passes. Sometimes we don't get to hear certain dialogues as it's only understood between the characters in their final moments, and to top all of that, the soundtrack was composed by none other than Hiroyuki Sawano, who also made the soundtrack of Attack on Titan, Recreators, Out No at Zero, Kill la Kill, and many others. And if your anime has Hiroyuki Sawano as your main composer, it usually means the anime is gonna be a banger. Also, the anime keeps reminding us that these people are kids. The whole spearheaded squadron is made up of teenagers. They were forced to fight because the internment camp ran out of adults. I'm pretty sure most of them might have a degree of PTSD after being sent into the battlefield and perhaps witnessing some of their friends' head being blown off. Some of these kids were probably raised without knowing what even a school is. But even with all of that trauma and depression, the series shows that despite all of these horrible situations, these characters have beautiful moments where they can be normal teenagers, having mundane and silly conversation and even find some joy in it. 86 is a mech anime that filled a void within the genre. It's been quite a while since I've been so invested in a military sci-fi plot-heavy story that shares some thematic similarities with our real-life history, with an interesting world building, interesting characters, with a message about war, society, and what people can do to other people. The second season, it's still airing at the time of the recording of this video, and by far, it is still looking good, and seeing from what people are saying about the show, things will get more interesting, and if you haven't watched it, I suggest you to give it a shot. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on the notifications so you can know in advance when I have uploaded a new video. Also, you can find me on social media on my Instagram and Twitter, links in the description, and see you guys next time.